City sleeps too high. Let's swim out tonight, love. It's our time to try. Heart beside the ocean on our moonlight drive. Let's swim to the moon. Let's fly to the tide. Surrender to the waking world that left.
Okay, you fans of popular culture of the 20th century, especially you fans of The Doors and Jim Morrison, the Lizard King, what we have in front of us right here on 5th Street between Santa Monica and Broadway, we have the former Greyhound bus station that closed in 1994. Now, only you hardcore fans would be interested in this ephemera. I'm not too sure about you casual fans, but if the Greyhound bus station of Santa Monica doesn't ring a bell, then I'm sure it does. Okay, what happened here behind this bus station for musical history is where the Cosmic Circle came together. November of 1965 at Hank O'Gean's rented house. This is where the four doors finally came together. They all met. Jim, Ray, and John had already been playing together since August. This is where Robbie, this is where the house was. Unfortunately, everything's been torn down. And this apartment building, if you're from that time, that's about 1963, that was there. But I remember for years, Hank O'Gean's former rented house, it was right here. It was a bright yellow when they tore it down. And Santa Monica, it's been on this jag where they're building these condos all over. There's no longer extant the original Santa Monica, as you can see. Everything's very, very, very high-end, upper middle class. The complete antipodes to what the 60s represented. And of course the Doors. But right here in this alley is where the Four Doors, the first song they ever played was Moonlight Drive right here. And they must have been hanging out here during breaks. They got together and they started practicing 3 days a week for a month. And after the month, the neighbors started complaining. The cops told them they couldn't be playing here anymore. And in fact, Ray said the only reason he picked this place to rehearse was because Hank O'Gean, a friend of Ray's from UCLA Film School, he said Hank was the only guy that I knew that had an upright piano. He hadn't scored on his Vox Continental electric piano yet, but they had already cut John, Jim, and Ray a 6-demo acetate at World Pacific Records in August, and they got a call from this guy named Billy James about November 1965. And incidentally, if you're at all interested, I went there where the former Vox musical instrument company was in Van Nuys, California. When they got called by this guy named Billy James, he was the A&R guy at Columbia Records on Sunset Boulevard. He said, we can't get you guys any money. We're gonna sign you up for 6 months if it's okay with you, but we can give you instruments. Now, serendipitously, by getting signed to Columbia had just bought, like I said, Vox instruments. And he said, well, what I can do though, I can give you guys free instruments. So Ray was able to get his Vox Continental, the signature sound organ that he had for the first 2 albums, Light My Fire being one of them, the signature seminal song that he that became famous using his Vox Continental. Well, this right here, he was still playing his piano, an upright piano. He hadn't introduced the organ, but that day that Robbie was here, the first time he ever met all three of the fledgling doors, he gave them another secret weapon. He pulled out a bottleneck, and he started playing it in the first song, as you heard in the beginning right there in the video, Moonlight Drive. That's the signature sound that he gave the doors, starting at Hank O'Gean's house. And I'm just eternally sorry, because I used to come here in the double lots and hang out and just imagine the doors hanging out here behind the Greyhound bus station. Okay, today is Memorial Day, May 28th, 2018. So I'm gonna take you fans all over the world to where the doors walked this way to Santa Monica Pier, and I'll sign off. And I just want to say another serendipitous event, along with the fact that Columbia, by buying Vox Instruments and giving them their signature sound, along with Robbie that day with his bottleneck guitar, Billy James, which is kind of weird. It's like a serendipitous fact, but what Billy James was known for, and I'm shocked that nobody's ever talked about this. Billy James was James Dean's friend in New York City from 1952 to 1955. Now, what are the odds that the seminal figure that instigated, in my opinion, the youth cultural revolution of the 50s and 60s, James Dean, his pal Billy James, 10 years later in 1965 signed the fledgling doors to a 6-month contract, and then, okay, of course, giving them the signature sound using the same organ that Alan Price played in the Animals. And so a lot of weird events always interplay. In fact, when they got together here at Hank O'Gean's house in November of 1965, Jim had actually first got on stage with Ray in May of 1965 at the Turkey Joint West, where I'm going to take you fans. This would have been 5 months after Jim had first got on stage and sang Louie Louie. Okay, so let me show you fans all over the world what this place looks like. It's no longer the Santa Monica of the 1960s. And now getting back to the Greyhound bus station, you can get a pretty good shot of that Greyhound bus station in a film called Night Tide with Dennis Hopper and an actress named Linda Lawson. She played Mora. She was supposed to be, or what he thought, a mermaid, and it was with this actor named Gavin Muir who played Captain Murdoch. Okay, we're gonna go around I'm gonna show you fans what it looks like. All these condos, they built this library about 2005 from the old one. That's the Santa Monica Library. Okay, we're on 6th Street. And getting back to that film I was talking about, Night Tide, there's a shot of Dennis Hopper. He's a sailor on leave, and he's pulling up in that little driveway there where you'll see the Greyhound bus station, the insignia. And this is what they built right here. And that, like I said, that building, that apartment building, that was built about 1964, so that would have been there. But adjacent was Hank O'Gean's rented house. Okay, now Jim and the Doors, after they rehearsed, they walked towards a pier, and when they walked to the end of the pier, there was another famous scenario of course, you fans of Doors Ephemera would know about that. Jim goes, "This is the end of the whole thing right here." Robbie, looking shocked, "What are you talking about, Jim? We're just getting started. Everything sounded great." Jim smiled at him. "I don't mean us. I mean Western civilization. This is as far as it goes." John jumped in. God, I thought you meant the band. I thought I was fired before I even joined up. And then Jim goes, no, I mean Western Man. He can't go any further. This is it. We're at the end point. Robbie, you know what's out there, Jim? You know what's out there beyond that line? John, he exclaimed, Asia. He said, that's what's out there, man, Asia. Okay, so this is the way, but again, that building was extant here, but here's the mall, the 21st century, and literally Santa Monica, they've literally in the last 10 years shaved away the whole past. Now, if you're a fan of George Orwell's 1984, that's how you goof up people's intrinsic nature. You wipe out the past. You change what's black, you make white, and what's white, you make black. And then you give perpetual war, so everybody's completely and totally on tension all the time, and you never have a denouement nor a wind up to anything. That's why you have everybody anxious all the time. Now here in the 90s, before they built this 3rd Street Promenade, it was just a regular street with Sears, Montgomery Wards, Grants, and they've turned it into this high-end. Pretty much, the only tourists come here now. It's unaffordable, and it's not even worth coming here. Everything's expensive to park, and so I'm going to take you fans now to what was formerly the Turkey Joint West, and getting back to that demo that they recorded at World Pacific Records on 3rd Street, which incidentally I filmed, and I filmed where the Jim lived with Ray at the time and Dorothy on Fraser, so you can see that on my channel. And forgive me for using that word film. Like I said, we're us baby boomers who were brought up linear, I mean record. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a shot of the way the Doors would have walked that day and sat at the end of the pier, the Santa Monica Pier. The incipient jump into the future, the group that would change music history forever. And rock and roll as we know it, for whatever reason, it's dead. All I hear is rap and hip hop, and I hope it comes back, but I sincerely doubt it. We shot our bolt, I think, and they're all gone. All those fantastic artists. Okay, here's the Santa Monica. That's where they would have walked. And let me quote one of Jim's favorite lines from Dylan Thomas. My poetry is or should be useful to me for one reason only. It's a record of my individual struggle from darkness towards some measure of light. So Jim, wherever you're at, Ray, good night, sweet princess. And Robbie and John, may you live to 100 years, healthy and happy, because you deserve that for the fantastic, great, fabulous, marvelous music that you gave the world. Okay, please subscribe to my channel. Okay, I'll be seeing ya.